Hey, Sfrums here with a 15-minute game from ICC, but I'm speeding it up. It's a video right now to 4 times speed, and that way you don't have to sit through the whole however long this game is, over 20 minutes. I was black, rated about 1960. My opponent was white, about 1870, and I played d6 on move 1. I like the perk and the King's Indian and structures with my pawns on the dark squares. So he seems to be playing normal stuff until he plays knight e2, then g3. This is more of a system where he tries to control the center without doing anything too aggressive. And I strike with e5. I think this will give me a nice attack if I can get my pawn to f5. And I also want to prevent him from pushing his pawn on e4 to e5, which opens up his g2 bishop. So knight c6 seems like a good move, getting a knight to center square, hitting his center. And d5 is kind of what I was expecting. On h3, I actually have a tactic here, and I'm just double checking, and it takes me about a minute to do it in this game. I'm looking at e takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes e4, and what happens is my bishop on g7 gets opened up and then hits his knight for the second time. And there's an optional line where we trade queens, where he plays knight takes d4 here, I play knight e4, he plays knight c6, I have to play knight c3, then he plays knight takes my queen, and I play knight takes his queen. And I end up probably a pawn ahead, or at least in a very good, at least even position. So I'm slightly better in this. I just picked up a pawn. Bishop takes e4 for him isn't good because of h3 falling. I think a lot better would be knight takes e4 or knight takes c6. And he does end up choosing to play knight takes e4. And then my move is knight takes d4. I considered bishop takes d4, but I don't think it's best because now he plays bishop g5, and then I play f6. So maybe bishop takes d4 was good because then my knight on c6 would be defending it, but I didn't like letting his dark squared bishop come in without my bishop on g7. So I give back the pawn here because after queen takes d4, f takes g5, queen d5 check, picks up this pawn on g5. But I do have the bishop pair, which is definitely good. I looked at rook f5, that is not going to work. So queen f6 is the best move. Guarding f7, centralizing my queen a bit, and hitting b2. Also tying his rook on f1 down to f2. That queen f6 move seems pretty good to me. If knight e4 hitting my queen, I just take b2. So he plays h4, which I did not think was that strong, because I really do want to play h6 anyway and then take b2. But perhaps better would have been c6 here, getting his queen to move and then considering taking b2 or playing h6. Because his queen on d5 is just so central and such a pain to deal with. I think c6 is probably the best move here. Now, knight h3 is good for him because it's rerouting the knight to a better square on f4. And knight on f4 now that I moved my h-pawn, that g6 pawn is really, really weak. So I felt like I was winning here, and I didn't quite understand how much compensation he had. He's down over 3 minutes, now about 4 minutes. So I'm up a lot of time. If you ask me my winning chances at this point, I would have said like 75%, 80%. But if you ask me in a few moves, it's probably going to be a bit less. Because after knight f4, how do I deal with g6? Do I bring my queen back? Well, that runs into bishop e4. Do I play rook f6? Maybe rook e1 for him is good there, threatening to come down and check my king. So I spent like 3 minutes on this move trying to figure out what the best course of action was. Moving g5 up one doesn't really do much because he just forks me anyway and it opens up my king. Moving my king up doesn't really do much because he just plays bishop e4 and then my king is lined up. And taking c2 doesn't work because of bishop e4. Knight g6 right away. Bishop e4 on queen c2 actually, I think. And he also has moves like rook c1 later. So I spent a really long time trying to handle this. And if I could do it again, I'm still not sure. I think bishop f5 is probably the best move. because my bishop isn't really doing much besides guarding b7, and it really needs to get active. Like, if I have the bishop pair, I probably should be using it. So I do bring my bishop to f5. And I was expecting bishop e4 here. It guards c2 and keeps putting pressure on g6. So if it's a hard position, because if I take e4, queen takes e4, that g6 pawn is falling. And I think queen d4 was an option, but queen e5 is the best move. It forces the queens off. It gets me into what should be an even to slightly better position. And sometimes when I have these types of positions, I resist trading the queens off because I just always like having the queens on the board for attacking chances and things like that. But at this point, it's pretty obvious he has the attacking chances. So I do want to get the queens off. And my time is just dwindling here. I'm taking so long. I'm really slow. You know, I'm not as fast as I used to be. So he takes the queen, and there's probably an argument for taking with the pawn, but I think taking with the bishop is fine. And he's thinking, I take with the bishop. It's hitting his rook and knight. His best move is not knight g6, because then I just take his rook after it. I should have not taken this way. I should have taken with the rook and not the pawn. I should have taken with the rook and not the pawn. Now, rook b1, I move my rook all the way over, and this is bad because it locks my rooks on that side of the board. And we're moving super fast now. He takes, and h5 is the move here, not king g6. I need my king on f7. So h5 would have still been an important move to play, because by not playing h5, he can play it, and then he gets a lot of initiative. I try to trade things off, but it's really, really difficult for me to survive this. And here I just lose on time, and I'm dead lost in the position. So a kind of bad ending. I missed the move bishop g5 at the very end, and if his king takes, I just slide my rook over to g8, and I win the rook. So that would have been good, but I got 2 though on time, and the ending was kind of frustrating, but overall I think it was a kind of interesting game. So I'll make a video about it and share it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you want me to make more in the future, and thanks for watching. Alright, bye.